Welcome back to the Cord Cutters News Tech Lab. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 common cord cutting mistakes that new cord cutters make and how you can avoid them. In all the years I've been doing this, I've found over and over again there are many common mistakes that new cord cutters make that really don't need to be made. And they come from a few common mistakes that everybody seems to be falling victim to. So hopefully this video will help you avoid those and give you the information you need to make cord cutting as successful as possible. First though, if you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. We publish YouTube videos almost every day about the topic of cord cutting, helping you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you want. By hitting subscribe, hitting that thumbs up, you let YouTube know you enjoy what we're doing here, and it's a huge help. And hopefully we can help you. All right, let's take a look at the 5 common mistakes that new cord cutters make. Number 1, rushing into it. So cord cutting can feel very tempting to just say, hey, I'm going to call Comcast, Spectrum, AT&T, wherever you are, cancel, and I'll figure it out, right? That's the number 1 mistake I find most new cord cutters make, is they don't do their research. Cord cutting is not difficult. It may look like it. Look at all these apps here I got behind me. It may look difficult. It's really not. You don't need all these apps. You don't need all this, but you do need to do a tiny bit of research to see which ones are right for you. Take your time a little bit. Do your research and practice this before you cut the cord. Set yourself up as a cord cutter before you cancel and see if it's right for you. The great thing about all these services is they offer free trials. You can say, hey, I think PlayStation Vue is the right fit for me. Well, take advantage of the PlayStation Vue free trial and see if it's right for you. Because if it's not, then you say, hey, you know what, that didn't work out. Let's try out AT&T TV Now, or maybe I'll just go with like a Tablo DVR. Maybe that's not right. Take advantage of the free trials these services offer for the ones that offer them, and then decide if it's right for you. My wife and I did that when we cut the cord. We actually unplugged our DirecTV box and said, okay, we're all set up. For the next month, we're going to try this. And if it doesn't work out, we can always just plug the cable box back in, watch our TV that way. It took us about 2 weeks. After about 2 weeks of testing out the different services, we found all of our channels we want. We found all the shows we wanted, and we were all set. So keep that in mind. It's not something that happens overnight. I often talk about like going to a new car, right? I used to be a Chevy guy. I went and bought a Toyota. They both have steering wheels, they both have radios, they both have cruise control. But you know what? That radio is a little different. That, the shift handles, instead of being on the side of the steering wheel, is now in the center console, or maybe the blinker, how I control the windshield wipers are different. Cord cutting is a little bit of the same. It's, okay, they all have the same features. They're going to give me the same content that the much more expensive cable did. But it may work a little different. I may have to remember, oh yeah, now my windshield wipers are on the right-hand side of the steering wheel instead of the left-hand side. Or maybe the steering wheel controls are flipped and more. So let me know how that works for you. And again, take your time. Avoid the temptation to rush into cord cutting. All right, number 2, expecting cord cutting to be an exact copy of cable. Just like with our car analogy, both these cars, the Chevy and the Toyota, both drive you down the road, right? But they're not the same car, they don't work the same, and they have slightly different features. And cord cutting is the same. Yeah, PlayStation Vue offers ESPN, Fox News, Big Ten Network, CNN, MSNBC, etc. But it works a little bit different. Its DVR is unlimited. You can record all you want, but after a month, it auto-deletes. So keep that in mind. With your cable network, you had a DVR that you could keep as long as you want, but it would fill up, and at some point you were out of space and you had to delete something, or you couldn't record anything more. So there's slight differences here. So going into cord cutting with an open mind to say, hey, I understand this is not going to be a one-for-one copy of cable TV, but I understand in the end of the day, I'm going to get to the same destination. I'm going to watch the same shows. Just how I do it is different. So keep that in mind. And again, if I could really encourage you one thing, is to try not to have the cable mindset. Try not to run into this like, I want everything to be exactly like cable. Go in it with the mindset that I want to watch what I want. And I don't necessarily care how I do it. And if you go in the mindset saying, I want to watch a particular show or sporting event, etc., I can take that and give you that. But if you're looking for the one-for-one perfect replication of cable, that's where you're going to find some disappointment. So keep that in mind. But I really do think you're going to be able to watch everything you wanted to watch. You just need to keep an open mind about it. Next up is wanting everything. One of the big mistakes I think a lot of people run into with cable and with cord cutting, this is a issue with both, is, man, that MTV Classic channel, that sounds kind of cool. I never really watched it before, but I kind of wanted, or maybe I just watched one show on it. I really want it. And that's how a lot of people end up saying, I'm going to get that higher cable package, I'm going to get that higher PlayStation Vue package, because it happens to have some obscure channel that I may watch a couple times a year and don't really watch it. I would really encourage everybody here to sit down and say, hey, what movies, what TV shows do I really watch? What ones are really important to me? Not this like, hey, maybe someday, possibly I would like to watch that. No, what seriously do you want to watch? Write that down, get a notepad out. Here are the top 10 shows I have to have when I cut the cord. This whole, I'm just going to try to get everything right. This marketing strategy cable is really good at. 500 channels for, ends up being $300 or whatever. It's all about, we give you all these channels. Well, that's great, but is it what you really want? Are these channels offering you the content you really enjoy and you really want? So keep that in mind, because it can be very confusing with that if you're trying to get everything. But if you actually look at what you want, there's things like Frndly. Okay, what I want is the Weather Channel and Hallmark in the fall. I don't really care about live TV channels typically, but when there's like a hurricane happening, or when the Hallmark channels are having their movies, because they're releasing 40 of them this year for Christmas, well, hey, Frndly will give you the Weather Channel, all the Hallmark channels, and more, starting at $5.99 a month. So if you really sit down and look at what you want, I think you'd be surprised. Maybe Hulu. Hulu has a lot of shows the next day. I don't know about you, but I typically watch shows the next day anyways. So maybe Hulu can fill in a lot of the blanks of what I want. So maybe I get a basic package of a live TV service, and then I supplement it with Hulu to get maybe other content, or I supplement it with Frndly during the time of the year when the Hallmark Channel is showing movies. So keep that in mind. Next one, when people are comparing costs of cord cutting versus cable, they often just consider the promotional rates on cable TV. Be very careful of that, because we'll hear, oh yeah, $49.99, all these channels plus DVR. And when you get down into the fine print, it's where the fees and taxes really add up. I often see people leave comments, oh, such and such service promised me a cheaper deal than cord cutting. Is it really cheaper? Is it just good for a few months and then it skyrockets in price? Or is it one of those hey, terms and conditions apply? We see Comcast and others charging over $50 a month in fees and taxes. So keep that in mind. So that you really need to compare apples to apples, because these services typically don't have fees. They typically don't have hidden surcharges on things that cable would have. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Don't just look at that ad. Don't just listen to what the rep told you. Because how many times have you been told, yeah, $89 for cable and internet, and you get the bill, it's $110 under the promotional rate. In a year, it's $200 some dollars. Just keep that in mind. And lastly, listening to your friends is not always the best thing with cord cutting. The great thing about cord cutting is there's a lot of options, right? There's always this debate. What's the best service? And there's really no one that's best. I have all the live TV services. I find them all to be equally great, depending on who you are. It may be very true for your best friend that PlayStation Vue or YouTube TV, etc. is the best option for them. But maybe YouTube TV doesn't have the NFL Network. Maybe that's a must for you, but for them, they don't care about NFL, so they don't mind not having the NFL Network. Maybe PlayStation Vue is great for you, but you know what? PlayStation Vue doesn't have the Pac-12 network, where Sling TV has the Pac-12 network. So really take in mind what's right for you. So people say, hey, I absolutely love PlayStation Vue because it allows 5 streams at once in your home. Out of your home, though, it has limitations that YouTube TV and some others don't have. So maybe you're saying, hey, those 5 streams in my home are important for me. But maybe I'm saying, hey, I'm a single guy. I don't care about that. I don't have other people watching TV with me. I'm going to get another service that may have only 2 or 3 live streams at once. But maybe it has a channel, or maybe it's a little bit cheaper than the competition. So you need to do your own research. taking recommendations from friends and family about, hey, what services do you use to watch XYZ is great. But just don't go with their recommendation without doing your own research, because there are a lot of services out there that target different kinds of people. Unlike with cable that says, hey, there are 4 options, you got fit into one of these 4 options and that's it. Cord cutting says we have dozens of options of great packages, great features that may match what you want. So keep that in mind. Do your own research. So real quick rundown of the 5 common mistakes again. Don't rush into cord cutting. Make sure you do your research before you cut the cord. Don't expect cord cutting to be exactly like cable. Just like switching from Android to iPhone, both do the same thing, but they work a little differently. Getting a new car, they both drive down the road, but the radio is a little different, the steering wheel is a little different, etc., etc. Be careful about the temptation to want everything. Don't be afraid to rotate services. Say, hey, I'm going to get the new Disney Plus for a few months, binge watch, and then I'll go back to Netflix. Rotate. Avoid the temptation to really just say, I care about the number of channels more than I care about what is offering me the shows I really want. So look for the shows you want, sit down, write out the top 10 must-have TV shows, and then go from there. Avoid the temptation, even for cable, of just saying more is better, because sometimes more is not better. Sometimes it's better to get something like Frndly at $5.99, but maybe it offers exactly what you want. So keep that in mind. Be careful to really look at the true cost of cable TV. Don't look at the promotional rates. Those are short term. They often don't include fees and taxes. And take your friend's advice, but understand what they may want is likely different than what you want. So just because your friend gets something or your friend has a package doesn't necessarily mean it's the right package for you. So keep that in mind. I hope these tips have helped you. I hope these help you avoid some of the common mistakes I see a lot of new cord cutters make. So do your own research. Let us know if you have any tips for new cord cutters. Leave us a comment. But if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I hope these videos help you, and hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV. We'll be back tomorrow with more cord cutting news, tips, tricks, and how-tos.